Welcome to Module 7. This is going to be our last module for this class. In this module, we are going to be discussing how to be more productive, more creative, and unleash that power and creativity using Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat is going to be one of our primary tools that we're going to use on a regular basis, and it is licensed with Microsoft 365. So we're going to also discuss in this module about the licensing, which we started at the beginning of the class. When we talk about the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, this is going to be your everyday companion. It's going to be working with you, and you can access your emails, access your tools, access your services, your configuration, your documents, all of that from one location. So let's understand a little bit more of the chat. Let's see how it's grounded. When I mean grounded on graph, which is your organizational data, or graph on the web, ground on the web, where it is the web data and you can access. And let's also look at other ways to access. Let's see how we can also look in terms of the agents that we can use and the collaboration. Can we collaborate using, well, in this case, Copilot pages? Let's take a look. First, when we look at the Copilot Chat, this is going to be the critical tool that allows us to ensure that we have a secure AI chat to communicate with. When we say this is in my data, in my tenant, it is secure, it is protected. Your data is not leaving your organization. Everything that you do is secure within the confound of your tenant. Great for collaboration, where I can access Copilot in Teams, I can access in various Microsoft 365 tools. We saw that this week. Also, in fact, today, not this week, but today. Interaction. We saw in terms of the assistant. We saw in terms of the content creation, content moderation, and unlimited ways for us to be able to work with our AI. Important for us to know that the Microsoft Chat and, of course, the Microsoft 365 subscription are a little bit different. If you look at just the chat, Microsoft Chat by itself allows you to leverage the power of the LLM. I have my capability of being able to work with pages and my files, import my files, summarize my content. I can even create agents, but you don't have the option of integrating with all of your Microsoft 365 tools, accessing from Word and PowerPoint and Teams and Excel. So this is the greatest capability on that. When I have the Microsoft 365 Copilot, this is the all-encompassing AI. This is the one that we have been discussing all along in this class. So this is where all the capabilities from the chat capability, also from the agent capability, and from personal assistant, and lastly, from the control of the systems, how I'm going to do that in terms of the agent management collaboration. That's all encompassing on the Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, Copilot Chat, when we think about this, I do have this capability available in Outlook. We saw that when I am in Outlook, I can click on Copilot, I have the chat available. In Microsoft Edge, you saw that I have the button on the top, I can click on it, I have Microsoft Chat available to me. In Microsoft 365, and in Teams as well. Microsoft Teams is great because now I can collaborate and leverage my chat right there. Now, you saw in terms of the interface of chat, I saw that I can have my content, I can be grounded on graph, means inside the confines of my organization, my teams, my documents, my emails, all known to Copilot that I can interact with. Even if I have extensions to my graph, I can leverage those extensions and communicate with that data. And then when it is on the web, it's grounded on the web. That means the information I'm going to get is coming from the web. I'm not going to be passing information to it. We are going to be summarizing, bringing the content, understanding from there. We're going to see that I can access my agents. I can know that I am using a secure communication. When I see that little, we are going to see this little shield in there that's green that says, hey, we are secure and protected. With that, I also have conversation starters on my chat. I have an area. This is what I call the prompt box, where I start my communication. I can access the prompt library. The prompt gallery, we already saw that. We'll continue to do this. That button that says send the prompt, we saw that, and I'll be able to use it anytime, anywhere that I see it, I'll be able to submit. And also, I have the agent area where I can see existing agents that have been shared with me, that I have added, or new agents that I can create as well. Now, this agent creation area means I access the agent from the Copilot Studio. But we are going to see the agent builder as part of that, which is, it communicates with the studio, but it's not a full-fledged studio communication. Now, how does Copilot Chat works? Well, first of all, one of the things that we're going to see is the integration with the data sources. I need to make a decision if this is going to be we call grounded on my data, which is work-related, or if it is grounded on the web, which would be web-related, right? Contextual insights. So I need to see from a content perspective, what kind of insights that I'm going to use. You are going to make an informed decision based on that. When you are having a conversation with your Copilot, you are going to decide, maybe you have a meeting, I have a document, what is the context that you are looking for? And also the efficiency of that communication. When you are interacting with your Copilot, you need to be in control of that communication. How you want that communication to be, the efficiency, the business-like communication. Do I want to be formal, informal? Do I want to be short? You need to be in control of that. So you need to try, there are various prompts that you need to try to be able to do that. And we're going to see those in the prompt gallery as well. Now, one of the things that we have been mentioning here in terms of working with your Copilot, first of all, there is this learning from this interaction. When we are working with a Copilot, we need to be in control of that discussion. I can very well provide feedback in terms of the iteration. If I see that the responses are great from Copilot Chat, I'm going to tell Copilot Chat, this was good. It tells Copilot that continues on that line of thought, continue on that discussion. So every interaction that I have with Copilot is a unique interaction. It's not going to be saved for later. It's going to be saved on your prompt history, and you can go back and revisit. But it's not like we started a conversation yesterday, today, let's think about that conversation. That was yesterday. I need to bring that conversation again into another conversation today in order for that to be a continued type of conversation. So this adaptive assistant that you have is based on the effectiveness of the communication that you have with it. So in that case, if I have a work mode, all the conversation is grounded on work data. My meetings, my documentation, my teams, my tasks, my notes, everything is work-related and related to Microsoft 365. All the tasks that I have in terms of Outlook and the chat, what it's going to do, work-related. Collaborative, Teams, chat, email, work-related. When it is in web-related, that means, okay, now I have a web functionality. When I do a request, go out there, grab me some data from the web, streamline that flow. I want to see for example, a SWOT analysis that we mentioned before, a particular vendor, or what is the latest news, or what is the latest weather. I will be grounding this on a web. It doesn't mean that I don't have access to the web when I am in work mode. You can still add the plugin, as we call it, that allows you to go and have access to the web to complement what you already have. But when I am in work, in web mode, I do not have access to any of my corporate content. They are separate, right? I need to be aware of that. So accessing your Copilot into Teams as well. We saw that from Teams, I can click on the button and access my Copilot Chat from there. Again, that conversation is just in chat. I can access Teams meetings that I attended, but it's not like being inside of Teams where I can have ask questions or talk about the content or see about the meeting that I'm attending. Those are different. That means I'm accessing Copilot within Teams. We're going to test this out in a minute. And of course, there are different features and different ways that I'll be able to use them, right? So remember, when I am in Teams, I can access Copilot Chat. I can also access Copilot in Teams, and they do different functions. Now, how do I optimize my workflows with the data? As I mentioned, if I have a specific task and I want to be able to work on that, maybe my boss sent me an email, I need to validate a content from a meeting from yesterday, look at a document that I wrote or a colleague wrote and shared with me. All of that data is inside my organization. If I have access to this data, Copilot has access to the data because it is grounded on Microsoft Graph. And it also ties to my access to this data. If I don't have access, because my assistant is connected to me, then I don't have access, Copilot doesn't have access. And the contextual insight of that data is also very important for that, right? So first of all, I need to see what exactly I want to do. Do I have access to that data? And what do I want Copilot to be able to do with this business data, protected? So Graph is this tissue, is this connecting tissue that puts all of these pieces together. It knows about my calendar, my documents, my teams, my meetings, my workflows, my organization hierarchy. And with that, when I ground Copilot on my Graph, it knows about this. It's bounded to my Microsoft 365 services, the data, and the content. So all this synthesis that we do there, all this synergetic communication, the summarization is done with that data within my organization. And again, based on my permission. If I don't have access, Copilot doesn't have access. If it is a top secret document, Copilot is not going to be able to get to it. So with that, if you look at the interface mode, we did mention in terms of work mode, work related. My teams, my organization, my content, my sites. If it is work related, that means it's possible that maybe I don't have a specific access to a document, right? If I have to, summarize this document, but you don't have access, you won't be able to do it. So I can securely draft a document, create document, ask for specific code variations. I can do all of that within my organization. And I can also streamline that communication, right? I can summarize my emails, my chats. I can prepare for a meeting, configure communication with my teams, updates, all of that within my organization. Now, what about web-grounded data? That's different. Now, the benefit in here is that now Copilot is directly connecting to the internet. So it's no longer talking to my corporate data. Now, if I ask, who's my boss? Copilot won't know that. We saw this at the beginning of the class, right? Copilot will not be aware of that communication. It knows about the internet. Whoa, where is the city? What is the weather? It can go out there and look for it. What is the latest news? Maybe it's going to go out and grab the latest news. Summarizes content that's coming in, connected to the internet, but not connected to your corporate. It's still protected, it's still secure, and it's still compliant, but it is not connected to your organization. It still provides that enterprise-grade security, right? Copilot does provide that no matter what mode you are using, but is not connecting to your data. Now, in terms of the information, suppose that I want to be able to do some communication. Well, if I want to be able to do a market research, where do I go? Well, in this case, I'm going to be web-grounded. I want to be able to compare top 3 providers on this area. We saw doing SWOT analysis. I want to be able to go out there and let's say I want to buy a new car, an EV. Give me the top 10 EV based on distance and battery. I can do that, right? It will complement this and bring the content that is available out there in the web. So I want to be able to look at the current market trend, the competitors, and summaries. It's going to be grounded on that. Also, general information. What articles are available out there? Maybe there is a YouTube video that I want to be able to review. There is some statements from the government that I want to review on that. What is the latest taxes information that is made available? I want to review. It's going to be web-grounded. So still on a web-grounded approach, we talked about, for example, competitive analysis. I want to do a product launch and see what is being out there, strengths and weaknesses of my competitors. I can very well do that. Maybe there's some content creation that I want to be able to do. Compare these, look at this style, look at this region, look at this segment. I want to be able to do that. So all of this kind of analysis is going to be web grounded. Any research that I want to do is going to be web grounded. Any integration that I want to do within my corporate domain is going to be work grounded. Now, in terms of that information, maybe I want to be able to learn some content, right? What is the latest articles that have been written on a particular subject? I want to be able to do that. Some publications, some items that I want to be able to see. You saw, for example, today when I created a document with Word, I said, I want to be able to use the PMI, the Project Management International, for example, the standard. Well, great. It knows the specific items that should be part of that project. So I want to be able to bring those best practices, type of checklists. All of that is going to be the benefit of having Copilot ground on the web. So with that, how about a quick demonstration? Let's go deeper into what we have already discussed in terms of Copilot and see how this grounded on web and grounded on work will work for us. Here we are in the web browser. And as we mentioned here in Edge, now that I have Copilot license, I can begin to use Copilot. And with that, we can see the work mode, and we can also see the web mode. Also notice that is secure communication. Right there, the enterprise data protection is active. I can start a new chat at any moment. And because I am in work mode, I can have a conversation about content in my work. For example, I can say, what is the last meeting that I attended? And Copilot is going to look at the list of meetings that I attended, and it's going to tell me, this is the meeting that you attended, or at least that you were supposed to be there. Maybe you didn't show up, okay? So this is an example. I can also say, what is the last document that I created? And Copilot is going to give me a list of the last document. Hopefully it's one of these presentations. Voila, the document that I'm accessing right now. It said, this is the last document that you created. That's amazing. Wow. Now let's look at it, for example, on the web. If I am on the web and I say, what is the last document that I created? You notice that Copilot is going to say, sorry, I don't have access to your corporate data to find that out. I can help you there. So this distinctively shows the difference between the web mode and work mode. Now, another thing, if I am in web mode and I want to do a research, I can say, give me the top 3 EV vendors in, let's say, South America. Give me the top 3 EV vendors in South America. And there we go. We have BYD. We also have Renault and Toyota. Wait a second, what happened to Tesla? Oh, it's not listed. I asked for South America. Brazil is a big market on that, and Renault is a big deal, right? That's what it tells me here. So if I ask the same question in Copilot, unless there is a document inside my organization that talks about the top EVs, I won't have that. Unless, of course, I have the web plugin. Then it can go out there and grab the same information. Okay, now that we talked about the work mode and web mode, also, let's see, how do I access? This is how I access Copilot here in my, my web browser. The best way to get to Copilot for Microsoft 365 Chat is going to be to go to m365.cloud.microsoft.com. Now, this is going to give us direct access to Microsoft 365 license. Notice that it asked me to log in. I am logged in, and on the left-hand side, here it is. This is my Copilot Chat. All the features potentially available are going to be here. I have my work mode. I have my web mode. I can start a new conversation. It is protected. I also can look at open recent pages, interacts with pages, and if I click on the ellipsis, I can see send feedback and settings. I'll leave that aside. I can close the agent mode, and I can open the agent mode. There it is, and chat history. On the bottom, I have the chat area. If I am in work mode, I can say, for example, let's see if I can do that. When was my last meeting with, and I can say, / Mindy. If I say Mindy Johnson, when was my last meeting with Mindy? If we had a meeting together, Copilot is going to be able to identify and give us a date. There it is, Mindy Johnson. We are talking about particularly, we were talking about the recording of this class. That's great. Now, in web mode, I know I cannot have that discussion, but I can do research outside of the organization. One other thing you notice in here on the right-hand side of Copilot Chat, I have the Copilot. When I click on Copilot, what happens? I'm basically starting a new conversation every time. And it shows in here, these are conversation starters. I have these prompts. And every time I click on it, I may have different prompts coming up. These prompts are coming from here. And this is the prompt gallery. When I click on the prompt gallery, there it is, I also can select which ones that I want to use. There are tasks. Maybe I want to learn, I have some code, and there are types. Maybe there is some marketing, some retail. And if I click down here where it says all prompts, I have all of these prompts to choose from. There it is. Maybe I want to find something in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams. There will be many prompts for me to work on from here. Excellent. On the right-hand side, I also have the agents. Agents are your almost like tools to attach your Copilot or mini Copilots. I'm having a Copilot. Let's say I have a prompt that says, look at this document, translate it, provide me in bullet point, and no more than 500 words. I could do this every time for a new document, or I can create an agent that says, any document that I pass it on to you, summarize in 500 words or less, and also make it available in bullet point format. That'll be great. Maybe different language, German, Portuguese, automatically translate the document. I can create an agent that will do that automatically, and I can put those agents here. So up here, you are going to find existing agents or agents that you have added or existing agents that your corporate has shared with you as well. And I can create, and I can also modify these agents from this area. And the chat is your chat history. Notice my solar power baby stroller is right there in my chat history. I can use it, and if I don't want it anymore, even the document that is there, I can simply say, delete it. There we go. Let's click on it and say delete. And that prompt history is gone. This prompt history is only mine. It's saved in my area, and I'm the only one that has access to this history. If I want it, I can keep it. If I don't want it, I can delete it. Now, we did say that I can use Copilot here in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and I also have it available in Teams. So let's take a look. I'm going to open up my Teams, and here it is. Let's click on my Teams. And when I open Teams, this is my last conversation with Mindy, but on the right-hand side, notice that I have Copilot. This is the same interface that you just saw from Microsoft 365. I have my work, I have my web mode, I have my Copilot, I have my enterprise data protection, all my agents, exactly the same way. So you see that I can collaborate here in Teams. I can also go into Outlook and access from there. This is a great way to collaborate. But remember, this Microsoft 365 chat in here is not the one in Teams. It's being accessed through Teams. So if I want to see the latest information, or if I want to summarize, I can do that. But if I want to work with Teams, inside Teams, this is the one that I want. This is the Copilot, or after the meeting, I can also use Copilot there. This one is my Copilot Chat. It gives me access to all my agents, my chats, and my communication through work ground or web ground data. So this concluded our demonstration of the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. where we can interact, we can be communicative, we can be interactive with the teams. Now that we have had a demonstration of the Copilot Chat, we see how it works, we were able to access directly from Microsoft 365. We also access chat directly on Teams. It is now time for you to try this on your exercise. This is the time when you are going to, in this case, ace an interview using Copilot Chat. So you are going to see how you're going to enhance your understanding of that for, let's say, what exactly the kind of questions that you should be able to ask and practice those. So the first exercise, you are going to do the research in the interviewer. Who the interviewer is, what is the research, maybe the company you're going to be working with. Also, the department, you're going to do that. Generate, this is kind of an internal one, right? Remember that. That's why we're saying the department. Department is going to be internal. Generate, you want to anticipate questions that are expected, and also the type of answers that you could practice for that. And creating an FAQ document, and then send this FAQ document with Outlook, right? This is optional as well. So this should give you a perspective on how to do the research. And some of this research could be internal, and some of this research could be external as well. And that will give you that perspective on how to leverage chat to enhance that communication. Remember, even with the chat, you can still do the, oh, I want this to be more formal or more informal, or I want to be shorter, or I want to be longer. You decide the format. I want this in a table format, or I want this in this particular style. You can adjust those styles as well. And to close this module number 7, we have the knowledge check as well. In this knowledge check, we're using Copilot Chat, exactly. And we want this to be in a work mode, or if you want, it can be also in a web mode. But you are going to ask Copilot to generate 3 multiple choice questions using Microsoft 365 Copilot functions, chat functions. Present the questions maybe one at a time, right? Wait for your answers, and then ask the next question. Great way, again, for you to enhance your knowledge. And again, I want to emphasize that with this prompt, you can basically put in to work with any kind of subject. Maybe you want to talk about baking cookies. You can say, hey, ask me about baking cookies. Ask me one question at a time. It could be any subject, but it helps you envision the power that Copilot Chat can give you in the learning process. And this team, it brings us to the end of our module. In this module, we talked about the Microsoft 365 Chat, how versatile it is, how this assistant, this AI assistant, can really boost your productivity, enhance your communication, leverage all the power of the generative AI to make you much more efficient on the things that you already do. So we talked about the functions, how it works related to work-grounded or web-grounded data. We also look at how it integrates with various Microsoft 365 services, including Teams, Outlook, for example. And we had examples on how to do it, right? Enhanced your productivity on a dramatic scale. I hope you are as excited as I am to leverage Microsoft 365 in all of your, in this case, Microsoft 365 Copilot in all of your applications, be it in Teams, in Outlook, in Excel, in PowerPoint, in Word, and of course, in Outlook, for you to leverage this, communicate better, and have all of your team gain this creativity and this efficiency with Microsoft 365.